These are the plaintiffs, Nancy and Glenn Martin. Nancy says they hired the defendant to build their kids a treehouse, and the crook took their money, and her kids still don't have a treehouse to play in. They hope this doesn't happen to other parents looking for a reliable builder. Their kids' summer was ruined, and their dreams crushed, and they're suing for the return of the $5,000 they're owed. This is the defendant, James McCarthy. He says he worked diligently on the plaintiff's treehouse, custom ordered the materials, got the permits from the town, and was all set to start the build when they went nuts on him, canceled the job, and told him how powerful they were and to watch out for Vinny and Rocco because they were sending them to his house. Well, he won't be threatened by the likes of the plaintiffs and doesn't owe them a refund. He's accused of tree trouble.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiffs hired the defendant to build their kids a treehouse. The guy took the money and ran. But the defendant says the plaintiffs threatened him with Vinny and Rocco. It's the case of my thuggy Vinny.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Martin and family, welcome. You're suing Mr. McCarthy with Creative Custom Cabinetry, doing business as Treehouse Brothers. For $5,000, a statutory maximum. You say you're actually out a deposit of $7,500 and you want your money back. Why? What happened?
So, Your Honor, back in May of 2018, I decided with my husband that we wanted to have a treehouse built in our backyard for the kids to play in as a reward for them doing well at school. So I did some research online, and I came across the Treehouse Brothers with James McCarthy as the owner and reached out to them. They had a very impressive website, seemed to be very enthusiastic treehouse builders, and I contacted them. They came to my, James came to my house and drew up some plans for the treehouse, and we signed the estimate and gave him a deposit.
How much was the treehouse going to cost?
In total, it would have been $15,000.
Okay.
So he wanted half the payment up front, so we gave him $7,500. And then upon his request, he said we should notify our neighbors, which we did.
Which is smart, because if you don't do that, then there might be a problem later.
Exactly. Right. Initially, he said that, he definitely informed us.
Did you ever talk to the neighbors?
I did.
So did you send him to talk to the neighbors?
No, I sent them a certified letter. I tried to knock on their door.
You send your neighbors a certified letter?
Well, because I knocked on their door and they didn't answer.
Do you have problems with those neighbors?
No.
Okay. And according to you, you spoke to those neighbors.
He said he'd had some problems with them in the past and that I should be careful.
Did you have any problems with them in the past?
Never.
Why are you talking to the neighbor?
Actually, I was over there surveying the tree that I was going to build in, and he came out and approached me.
Did he ask you, what are you doing here?
Yes, he did. He
did?
Yes, he did. And I said, I was informed that they had talked to you. He said, no, they did not talk to me. And he said, matter of fact, all they did was send me a letter, and he was a little upset by it. Oh. And he said, I think you should turn around and go check it out with the town. So I went.
He said that to you?
Yes.
Okay. So you end up deciding the best course of action, which was wise again, is to go to the town and maybe get a permit to do what you want to do. And what happened?
My husband Glenn went down to City Hall and went through all the necessary paperwork to have a permit issued.
All right. So now, can I see the contract that you guys entered into?
Sure.
Does the contract specify how long it should take?
No.
Okay, so now let me ask you a question. How long should it take?
Everyone's different because everything is very unique when it comes to tree houses. But this particular one, I was estimating 2 to 3 weeks of prefabrication. Prefabrication is really where all the work comes into play. And then usually when on site, it's usually 1 week of on-site work once all the parts and pieces are built. Okay,
so now you had a problem with how long it was taking. How long did you wait before you pulled the
I waited about 5 weeks. So we got the permit on July 3rd. I sent him a check on July 6th. He got it on the 9th. It cashed to his account. It cleared on the 11th. Once he cashed the check, he was not communicative with us at all. And so we tried to get in touch with him to find out when the build was going to start. That first week, he said as soon as he got the check, he was ordered the materials, was going to have them express delivered. A week went by, they hadn't shown up.
Well, how do you know all these things if you're not talking to him? Okay, can I see the texts?
Yeah.
Okay, so July 9th, he tells you, I can't be there this week, but definitely next week. I'll order some materials tomorrow or Wednesday. July 16th, 7 days later, good morning, just wanted to check in, see what the plan is for getting started. We're trying to coordinate things. He says, the lumber arrived last week, but I'm still waiting on the treehouse attachment bolts. They should be here very soon. I was hoping to come up on Wednesday or Thursday to start. Everybody's happy. On Wednesday, you ask, did those pieces get in? The kids are getting excited. I really hope they get here today. I really want to get going. He then answers you Thursday, the next day. They're not here. I ordered them last Wednesday. I just checked the shipping. It was 7-day ground, so I guess technically they aren't late, but I would be assuming they would be showing up today, all right? They still hadn't arrived by July 20th. Glenn is telling him, okay, you know, we're getting anxious because this is taking so long with all the headaches, getting the permit surveying. We're just anxious to get started before the summer gets away from us. Please do let us know when you can get started. 3 days later, you text him you weren't feeling well. Now that brings us to July 23rd. I wasn't feeling well. I didn't know I was going to be able to come in today, but I feel much better. I would like to start, if that's okay with you. Great news. I'll be here all day. Can't wait. What happened that day?
So that day, that's actually a very important day. That's the day we set the treehouse attachment bolts. We framed the deck beneath it. It was a 2x8 pressure-treated frame that's hexagonal. So we framed that all out as well. And
is that up in the air or is that on the ground?
That's everything on the ground first.
First, but that's what's going to go up in the air.
Yep.
What's the finished treehouse supposed to look like?
I have a couple of just, there's a few hexagonal ones on here that you can look at. They'll get you a close enough idea.
On July 25th, you're telling him that now that you're building the treehouse in your workshop, we'd like each side of the treehouse to have a window. On the 31st, you call him because now another 6 days have passed. What happened between July 25th and July 31st?
He had a car accident with his truck.
How do you know that? There's no text back and forth.
Phone calls.
Okay, so
Finally,
you had a car
he called us
accident
back.
with the truck when?
I'll be honest, I don't remember the exact date. It was right in there, I believe.
And
it was
what
actually,
happened?
I swerved and clipped a tree and totaled my truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then by August 9th, Glenn loses it.
Yes.
This is Glenn. My wife and I have been trying to reach you to discuss the timing of the treehouse installation with no response from you. Please call us back ASAP or we will have to escalate this matter. To which you respond, I am at a funeral service. Call you soon. And then you send urgent, please read what was attached to that. You didn't photocopy it.
That was the letter I have right
saying
here.
Don't come.
Saying we wanted a refund, that we didn't think he was...
Okay, now at some point on August 9th, do you two talk to each other?
Yes.
And he says, I want you here by Wednesday, and you say, I'll do you better, I'll be there by Monday.
Yep. He was definitely, the previous conversation we had, he was very rude to me, and I was getting upset with him as well. And he was.
How was he rude? By telling you, build this treehouse or else? That's what he should be doing by that point.
No, well, actually, at that point, everything was, we just weren't getting along, I could tell. And I was getting frustrated with him with his constant calls. And I told him that I was away for the week and that I'd call him when I got back. And
I know, but how many weeks is enough? Are you entitled to take a week vacation and then another week if the car gets hit? You know, like there.
Yeah,
you understand?
There was. I figured at the time I figured I was well within my time frame.
Well, let me tell you something. If it had been me, you'd be well within your time.
Summer was
No, summer was what?
Fast.
It was August 10th.
Yeah, it was fading away.
No, it was
And we
August
had no
10th.
commitment.
It was August 10th. So in retrospect, wouldn't it have been better to take a deep breath? And if your only objection is the kids aren't going to have a treehouse and it's August 10th, by golly.
I didn't
Because
believe...
I'm not going to make your kids answer this, but I'm pretty sure you would prefer to have a treehouse right now. Right, guys? Yeah, because they're kids and they don't care about your grown-up mess.
I didn't think it would ever get done. I honestly didn't think it would ever get done.
Really? Because of 5 weeks, you thought it wouldn't get done ever?
It was the lack of communication and the excuses.
On top of it,
I'm away, I'm out of town, I have an emergency,
I want you to
have a
think this
funeral.
through a second. Doesn't it seem like maybe if you had taken a breath and waited a few more weeks, you might have had a treehouse?
In retrospect.
Show me what work you have done or had done. I don't know, is that stuff still around?
Yeah. I've been storing it the entire time.
Okay, what do you mean most of it? I guess some stuff is generic. And
there was some framing, I'll be honest, that you chopped up and used since then.
Right.
But for the most part, the really tough, the custom windows, the custom door, the rafters, all the walls. Yeah, it's all
Dios
sitting
mío.
there.
I have been in your position. I know what it's like to be a frustrated homeowner. Do you have any interest in my attempting to broker a resolution between all of you, or are you just done and do you want me to rule?
So, tell me why tree houses are so awesome.
They're great. Everybody's got a little bit of little kid in them, and we want to get away from the world sometimes.
What do you, oh God, I don't know what you're wearing there, but that's awesome. Thank you. What do you, why treehouse is so amazing?
Probably like the nostalgic factors that go along with them. Honestly, I'm not really that big of a fan.
Who's a big fan of tree houses? Big fan of, what do you say? Of course I should go to you first.
I like tree houses because, I mean, a lot of movies include tree houses, so like, yeah.
Okay, I'll buy that. Going inside the courtroom.
Do you have any interest? You see those kids over there? Stand up a second, kids. What are your names?
Hunter, I'm Sky.
Hunter and Sky? Okay, take a look at that man there. You want to build those kids a tree house?
Those kids, yes. Those two adults, no. I will not build a treehouse for them.
You want? Okay,
No.
go ahead. But have a seat, children.
He threatened my life.
What? How did he threaten your life?
He
I didn't
called
see that
me
in
up
the
and
notes.
freaked out and told me that he was an important person, that he would send people to my house. This is on week 4.
That he would send people to your house to what?
I could only guess. Vinny and Rocco.
No. What did he say?
I'm not gonna put words
Quote,
in his mouth.
yeah.
Quote. I am an important person, and I will send Vinny and Rocco to your house.
Did you say that?
That's not true.
And quote, unquote, why would I make, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life to say that.
I can think of more menacing things to make up.
And he said, and then the next words were, are you recording this? I said, of course I'm not, Glenn. He said, well, then it's my word against yours. And then swore.
Granted, I was.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you guys together. All right.
Granted, I was frustrated that the time kept going.
Did you say you were going to send people to his house?
I swear on my kids that he said
Okay,
that.
no. Okay, yeah, not a good idea to put you guys together again. All right. I am so sorry that we are in this position because it was so unnecessary. You know, the impatience of a couple of weeks. So the very first question that happens is did he breach the contract or did you? I find that you breached the contract, that you did not have a right to pull out under the circumstances. So what I am going to do, because you have all those materials on your side and you're able to reuse them, is give them a credit for that. But be there no mistake, I do find that the breach occurred on that side and not on your side. I am, however, going to give them a credit for the materials that are there. I'm going to value it at $1,500, so I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiffs in the case in the amount of the $1,500, which represents just the credit for the lumber and stuff that's over there that they can't have. I'm sorry that it worked out that way. Good luck to everybody.
Well, the plaintiffs are going to prevail to the tune of $1,500 that you've got to give back to them. You got $7,500 of the deposit, right?
Correct.
So you okay with that?
I think it was very fair. I'm happy.
I gather building a tree house is not easy in a tree.
It's not easy.
But you don't want to go back and do it for them, right?
No, not for them. I'm sorry.
You glad this is over?
I am. I hope it's over.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
You must sign a few documents outside. The Martins are on their way out of the courtroom right now. I'm intrigued to know why you brought the kids to court. Did you want them to see this and hear all of this?
I did. I wanted them to see how the justice system works in the United States.
Did you threaten him? No. Who are Vinny and Rocco?
I don't know.
You don't have a clue?
No.
He swore you did.
Okay, that's his opinion.
You got pretty angry with him, though, right?
I got frustrated and upset, and I was a little firm with him at the end of those weeks.
Yeah.
But I wasn't threatening him in any which way.
That's very interesting. Anyway, you're going to have to live with what you're getting back, $1,500. What happens now?
Oh, it's unfortunate, but we'll have to see what the next step is in terms of getting a treehouse for the kids with a reliable
You
builder.
agree with the judge who thinks you were just a little too impatient?
I don't. She wasn't living the day-to-day, trying to get a word from him with all his excuses about every excuse under the sun, and I truly don't even believe those materials that he bought were for us.
All right. Thank you very much, okay?
Thank you.
All right, Harvey?
When you say you're going to send Vinny and Rocco to your house, no offense to those names, but you know what it means, and that's arguably assault, which is like a veiled threat.
This is the plaintiff. Lauren Massiter. She says the defendant cabled one of her trees to another tree on her property, which caused one of the trees to split. Now she has to cut down the tree because her neighbor complained to her town about it, and the defendant should be made to pay. She's suing for $2,415 for the removal of the tree and damages he caused to her property. This is the defendant, John. He says his company was hired to cable one tree to another because of the potential danger of it falling down. A week later, Hurricane Sandy hit with a vengeance, and a number of trees were damaged. Her damaged trees had absolutely nothing to do with his cables, and he can't be held responsible for an act of God. He's accused of being unsupportive.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Lauren Massiter, you are suing John's company. He's asked us not to refer to his company by name, and we'll respect that. You are suing John's company, which is a tree expert company, for $2,415. The cost to remove a damaged tree and other trees that, according to you, they damaged when they did some work on your property. Tell me what happened.
Okay, so I have lived on my property for 20 years. I have approximately 20 trees. And with weather conditions as they have been in the past several years, things have happened. So last year, 2011, October, there was an ice storm, and I had a big tree that was uprooted and fell across the side of my backyard. Didn't do any damage to anything, but it fell over. The year before that, my neighbors, their tree fell on their roof. So with all this happening, they're very afraid of my trees. Mind you, these trees are about 100 years old and they have never killed anybody. So they're like afraid of my like killer trees. And I don't want to hurt anybody.
Here's a letter from the neighbor dated back in December of 2011. Branches from the trees on your property have already caused substantial damage to our gutters, and the continued presence of other trees pose a risk to the structural integrity of our house as well as the safety of our family members and pets. We've informed you of this risk, have attempted to secure your cooperation. Specifically, we have offered to cable one tree and remove another. So they offer to you, we'll pay to remove this tree and cable this other tree, which we're worried about because it's leaning over so much on our property.
And you have my letter, Your Honor, that I responded?
The one dated January 5th, 2012? Yeah.
Okay.
So you respond to your neighbors, permission is granted for you to do the following at your expense. Cable one tree to another and remove a tree that grows directly over your property. There is no problem with the removal of the tree, but there is a problem with the cabling. Now, the plaintiff's neighbor hires you, and did you approve of his hiring?
Yes.
Okay, because you had said something originally in your complaint about how she didn't use the person you wanted her to use, but I see in the letter that all you ask is that they consult on this arborist.
Like I said, I don't want my trees to hurt anyone.
Okay,
I don't want them to
did you
pose.
consult with this arborist, Scott
Lamb?
Did you consult with him back?
Of course.
Okay. And what did he told you?
To cable the one tree and to remove the other questionable tree. Unfortunately, there's on the right of her house, there are a cluster of 3 specific trees that were a concern to her neighbor. There's a process called phototropia, where trees grow toward the sun. And because of that phototropic presence where all of those trees in that cluster are literally
Every
leaning.
time you do that, I feel like doing a yoga pose.
Yeah, it's YMCA, right? Yeah.
No, not YMCA, a yoga pose.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
All right. So now, you go to do the cable work, and how many different ways are there to cable a tree to a tree? Infinite number, or is there?
Well, with 2 very basic types of cabling. There's direct cabling, which is from one lead or one tree to another, and spoke and hub where multiple trees, and if there are multiple leads, 3 or more that are involved.
All right. So you can either hook one tree to another, that's just tree to tree, and that's called what?
That's called direct cabling.
Direct cable, or you do spoke and hub, which is like a wheel, and you connect a bunch of trees to each other.
Correct.
In this case, you did
direct cabling with a very short span.
What specs did she give you? Let me see the specs she gave you, because the only thing I see is you can cable one tree to another. So certainly the direct part.
Yeah, it's simply the letter from her neighbor and her response.
Yeah, cable one tree to another. Okay, so you do that when? You direct cable the trees when?
It was October 26th, 3 days prior to
so we're all sitting around talking about the superstorm Sandy coming up, the monster storm of the century, and it actually hit when?
The 29th.
29th, 3 days later.
And it's
All right, so Hurricane Sandy hits, and what happens to these trees?
Nothing.
So why are you here?
I'm here because my neighbor went to the town and said, oh, she has to remove a split tree and another tree, the one that's next to it. The two trees together, the tree is split since the cabling.
Well, just to be clear, when we're calling it a split tree,
it's bifurcated.
Meaning the branches have bifurcated?
Yes. The split tree was cabled to the other tree that was curved. However, I have an expert testimony that says they didn't cable it properly, and also the removal of the one tree.
Which is the tree that you had to remove?
Well, it's bifurcated and it's split.
It's bifurcated by God and split by his negligence.
Cabling.
Tell me what, like, it's
improper cabling.
Okay, but what's wrong with it? Why are you suing him?
Because the township told me I have to take the split tree down and pay another $2,050.
Okay, but why? What did he do wrong that makes him have to pay you?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. Does it really matter what this guy did to the tree if Hurricane Sandy knocked this tree down?
No, not at all. It's an act of God. So the person couldn't figure out what they were going to do.
But isn't it a little bit unfair? Because you may have a situation where somebody does something negligently to the tree, but they don't have to pay because a hurricane happened to hit.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that person responsible if he was negligent, or does the hurricane cancel it all out?
No, the hurricane canceled it all out.
The hurricane cancels it out, so he gets a free ride?
Yeah, it's the hurricane. The Mother Nature is the fault, right?
Nature is the fault.
Yes.
Got your point. Going inside the courtroom.
Let me see the paperwork from the township that says you have to take the tree down because the cabling was done improperly. What happened to those trees with the cable?
I have several photographs that I think paint a better picture, literally.
Okay.
The bifurcated tree split in the crotch. It's what.
Oh, that sounds so painful.
Well, and it's what's called a V crotch. This is science. Arboriculture is science. So.
That's why I'm trying to quell all the jokes that are coming to the forefront of my brain.
Of course.
All right, let me see that.
So, okay, sorry about that.
So it split at the crotch. Oh, I see. No, I do see. Where I see the light shining through right there.
Yes, ma'am. And if you look below that V crotch.
Come over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. Show me.
So here is where the original crotch was.
Right.
It has split here, and actually, if you see the white line here, it's splintering even below the picture. And it's
Where's the cable? Point to the cable.
This is the cable. That straight line
right here?
It's a braided stainless steel cable.
That line right there.
Yes, ma'am. And the fracture occurred about 3-4 feet above it. So it by no means did it split anywhere near where the lag bolt and the cable was supported.
Okay. Go ahead and step back. Now, let me see. You have a report by an expert witness that you want me to look at, which is Richard Wallowitz.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So he wrote the words improper cabling in here? Okay. According to your expert, as the leaning tree moved in the wind, the pressure exerted on the cable caused the weak area of the larger oak tree to split apart and now warrants its removal. Using an additional cable to support the upper crown of the larger oak was an option that should have been considered. This would have provided additional supplemental support to the upper portion of the canopy. So he's suggesting that it should have occurred to you to do what?
His ultimate recommendation was to install an additional support cable in tree number 2 in my photographs, which is the bifurcated tree.
Okay.
Judge, the point that we're missing here is that the Masseters allowed her neighbor to do necessary maintenance on her trees at their expense.
Oh, I see. You're hired by the neighbor. You're being paid by the neighbor. The neighbor was only concerned about this other tree falling over. And if she wants her bifurcated tree strapped to itself, then she needs to pay for that.
Correct.
Here's a problem. I'm having a couple problems, but let me read to you this little part right here.
Me too.
While Hurricane Sandy caused much tree damage in the surrounding communities, none of the trees in the Masseters' yard were uprooted from the storm. However, judging from what was observed in this backyard, the methodology used in the installation seems to have been short-sighted and contributed to the failure of a tree. Okay, the problem is not one place does your expert say that the way he cabled it caused the damage. What he's saying is that he could have cabled your tree while he was at it and saved the damage. Maybe. We're not sure. Now, you also have part of your lawsuit is damage to some bamboos that, according to you, he did when he did the cabling.
I have that right here. Okay, that's the right way. So they took the tree and they shaved it and got the root down and the stump.
Okay, what I see is a branch of a bamboo down. Right here?
Yeah.
And then what is it you're saying, that they owe you $205 over the branch?
That pile is my old tree.
Right.
It fell on top of my bamboo and they didn't do anything to save my bamboo.
What's your response to that?
The tree was removed, the tree from her property leading into the neighbors. After we removed the tree, she demanded that we grind the stump in the root. She didn't want the stump intact. Perhaps some of the mulch.
Is this the first time you hear about bamboos
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any proof that you mentioned bamboos before today?
No.
Kind of hard to kill a bamboo, right?
Very hard, yes, ma'am.
Well, he found a way.
Okay. Yeah, based on what I've heard, I rule in favor of the defendant in this case.
So a lot of testimony on both sides. Ultimately, the defendant wins this case. Here, turn around this way, and what's your reaction to that?
I'm bored. I'm going home.
So that leaves it up to you.
Yes, sir.
You bored and going home too?
Going home.
Your testimony was pretty exact in there. Was there anything you could have done to maybe foresee a problem on her tree?
Unfortunately, no. There's long history between the two neighbors, and it's good fences make good neighbors. And it's unfortunate. I feel bad that she's upset at losing, but I feel vindicated.
Okay, over to Harvey.
Okay, you know, I've talked about this before, but if you have a neighbor with who has a precarious tree where they haven't done what they need to do to it, you send them an email, you put them on notice. If anything happens, then they're in trouble.
This is the plaintiff, Bruce Revis. He says he has a nasty neighbor who refuses to maintain his gigantic tree, which hangs over his property. The defendant has ignored his requests to trim the tree because the leaves fall on the roof of his garage. Now he needs a new roof. He's tired of putting up with this guy's antics and is finally suing him here and now in this court for the $5,000 he's most definitely owed for roof repairs. This is the defendant, Edward Sarnacki. He says there are many huge trees which hang over their properties, and there's no way the plaintiff can pin the damage to his roof on this tree in particular. There's no way to determine which leaves are from his tree and which are not, and the plaintiff can scream at him and jump up and down all he wants, but he's not paying for a new roof. He's accused of tree troubles.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant's tree branches are hanging over onto his property, and also the leaves have damaged his garage roof. The defendant says leaves come from everywhere, and you just can't blame his tree, and he certainly isn't paying for a new roof. It's the case of leave me alone.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, now you own a property and he owns a property behind yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what seems to be the problem?
The problem is that he has two trees inside of his yard.
Okay.
And one of them is extremely large. It's growing so large that it's knocked his fence down. And it overhangs my garage roof, and it overhangs several houses next to mine.
You mean the branches do?
Yes, his branches do.
Okay.
And it drops leaves all over my garage roof,
Okay.
which has blocked my drain and causes puddles. So in 2014...
Do you clean the leaves off?
Well, I used to get up there when I could, but I've recently had my right foot amputated and part of my left. So I can't get up there. I mean, for years I cleaned. I never said anything. I used to get out and clean the back, but I'm unable to at this time. So in 2014... I had somebody go up and fix the roof, and we paid them $1,200 to fix the roof, and I contacted him at that time. I didn't document the conversation, but I alerted him, look, I fixed this roof. Could you please keep your tree trimmed so I don't have this reoccurring problem? And I guess he said, okay. I really can't recall the conversation. So here we are in 2018. Now, I hadn't gone out on the roof and didn't have anybody check it because I was going through my health issues, where I was in and out of the hospital. I was in a nursing home for a while, unable to walk or do anything. And then I had to have some work done on the house. I had to have the roof done on my main house. So I had to have some work done on the house. And I had a roofer go up on my house. And he looked over the roof and he said, man, your garage roof is covered with leaves and there's water. And I said, well, can you take a picture and bring it down and show me? Because I couldn't even walk up the steps at that point. I had just come home.
This first picture that I see here, this is a picture of his tree?
That's the small tree. That's his second tree.
Did you go onto his property to take this picture?
No, I didn't have to. I was in the alleyway. I'm in the alleyway. There's a fence there. It's a row house. So I could walk out of my house, and there's my garage, and I walk down the alleyway, and his house is over here.
Okay.
Cat-a-corner to my house.
What's this a picture of?
That's a picture also of the leaves of that tree that you just saw overhanging.
What's this a picture of?
That's a picture of the big tree. Now I'm standing right next to my garage now, taking a picture over his fence, which is falling down because of that tree.
What is this a picture of?
Now I'm in the alleyway again next to my garage, taking pictures of his tree up high where it's overhanging into 3 or 4 houses over there. Now that's where my house is located, and you can see his tree is overhanging my garage.
That's your garage, the brick building?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the tree? Anybody got a clue? It's very large. How old is it? How tall is this?
The tree without the leaves, Your Honor?
How tall is it?
About 3 stories high.
Yeah, right? It's a big tree.
Feet.
It's been around a while. What's this a picture of?
Now, that's a picture of my garage, and if you look over in the corner where that ladder is located, his neighbor also had, his branches were overhanging my garage. So I asked that neighbor the same day as I spoke to him to please trim your tree, and the next week he went and got his tree trimmed.
That's very nice of him.
Yeah. And he gave me a statement also that I spoke to him, not mentioning him, but at the same time.
I don't need that. That doesn't
Yes,
prove
ma'am.
anything in our case. All right, so what is this a picture of?
That's the tree that was trimmed from his
the
next door neighbor.
Okay.
That's a picture of his tree from my yard. Now, I'm standing right under the garage showing how his tree overhangs my garage. I'm standing in the alleyway. And that's his other tree overhanging. That's a picture of the tree, how it's grown out of his yard through his fence, and it's ripping up the cement in the alleyway.
This isn't something that happened yesterday. This is something that has been growing that way for how many years?
20 years.
How long have you lived there?
I don't actually live there. It's a triplex.
Okay, so you own it and you rent it out?
Yes, I've
How
owned
long
it
ago did you buy it?
46 years ago.
Okay, so do you remember when the tree broke through the fence or not really?
The tree originated in the alley. The tree grew into my yard. It didn't grow out of my yard. I never planted that tree.
Okay. So did he ask you nicely, hey, trim your tree?
In the second, what I believe to be the second phone call, he demanded that I trim the tree. And I suggested that while his roofer was on the roof fixing it, he cut back the branches that were overhanging his garage.
Right.
As these pictures indicate, there are only small branches overhanging the garage.
Okay.
The tree on my property that I planted, the first photograph that you saw, is a holly tree, which is considered an evergreen, which doesn't drop, that tree doesn't drop its leaves every year. 2 photographs later, you'll see the leaves are still there with the berries, the Christmas berries on them.
Right.
So,
can I ask you a question? Why don't you just hire somebody and cut back the limbs? You don't feel like that should be your responsibility?
Oh, in 2014, we had to pay somebody to fix the roof, and I spoke to him then.
I need you to listen to my question. I already heard you testify to everything you're saying. What I want you to tell me is when your neighbor did not trim the branches and you want the branches trimmed, why don't you pay somebody to trim the branches? Is the answer to my question that you don't feel it's your responsibility to do that?
That's part of it, but I'm on a fixed income.
Okay.
And I can't afford it.
And now I ask a question of you. When you have a neighbor who comes up to you and says, oh, will you please do this? Is it your feeling that it's not your responsibility to do that? What is I'm just kind of trying to get behind both of your psyches on this.
that if the branches of my tree are trespassing on his roof or above his roof, I thought it was his responsibility to cure his problem.
Look, the tree originates, well, you say it originates in the alley and it grows in, but either way, let's say the tree originates on his property, it's his tree, let's say he planted it, and the tree grows, and then trees, as is their wont, goes like that, right? Because trees we don't live in Dr. Seuss land. Right. They don't just go straight up, they go like that. Right. A lot of people like it to be that way. So neighborhoods have this integrated look where trees are going. So the law is that you own, or you own the rights to down to the ground and up to the heavens. So if someone else's tree is going over into your yard, you have a right to cut the tree branch, but it's your responsibility to do so. It is not his. I know it feels like it's, a lot of people come here and do exactly what you're doing because it feels like it's his because it's his tree, but it's not. But if you don't want, his leaves, nature, and his leaves falling off, I think he said it best when he said, what am I supposed to do, go up on his garage? See it? What was it you said?
I had responded, would he want me to go every year and pick out my leaves?
My own leaves. Let me just go through there and pick out my own leaves. I mean, it's just part of nature and stuff. So he can't object if you were to do that. He can't say, I'm filing a suit, you butchered my tree. No, you have the right to cut anything that is above your garage. You cut it once. You probably don't have to worry about it for another many, many years. But that responsibility falls on you. It doesn't fall on him. So I'm not going to order him to pay $5,000 for a new garage roof because it's not his responsibility under the law. Okay? Good luck. Verdicts for the defendant.
So the judge rules the defendant is not responsible for trimming that tree. Mr. Rivas, I'm sure you're not happy to hear that.
I mean, I guess that's the law, but, I'm not happy to hear it. I think the man should do the neighborly thing. His tree is destroying the neighbor next to him's fence, and it didn't start out in an alleyway because I've lived there my whole life on and off. He had an apple tree in that yard probably before he bought it, which he chopped down.
Bottom line is, according to the judge, it's not his responsibility. Well, you could say he could do it and be nice, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah, he doesn't have to. If he wants to be that way, then go ahead and be that way,
Obviously he is.
Yeah. Well,
what you going to do?
I'm not going to do anything.
No?
No.
Nothing?
No. What can I do?
Trim the tree.
I don't have the money to trim the tree, and I'm disabled. I don't have the money. I'm on a fixed income.
Well, I'm sorry for you,
This guy's
sir.
making money. He should do the right thing.
Well, we'll
Doesn't
find
have
out
to
what
be
you
the
think.
law. He should do the right thing.
I got you. Okay. The defendant's on his way out of the court. What do you think about this? I mean, you feel sorry for him or not?
Well, I feel sorry that he's not able to care for his property.
I see. He doesn't have the money to trim the tree. Could
Well,
cost several $1,000s.
I'm also semi-retired.
So you're not going to trim it?
I'm not going to trim it, no.
Oh, boy. What happens now?
It's an evergreen.
Good luck. Okay.
All right.
I feel you're going to have a problem with him. Maybe other neighbors, too. Good luck to you. Sorry you feel about that way. Okay. He's not going to do the neighborly thing, Harvey. What do you think?
Okay, Doug, talked about this before. You have a right to cut encroaching branches right to the property line. You can't go on the other person's property without their permission, but you can cut away.
This is the plaintiff, Shelby Hayes. He says the defendant's rotten tree fell on his car one day, destroying it, and the guy won't pay up. That's right, his car was parked. He's 25 years old and works his butt off, and the defendant needs to pay for his negligence and pay him for the $3,200 he's owed for his totaled car. This is the defendant, John Dorney. He says a nor'easter brought down his tree, and the insurance company determined it was an act of God. The tree looked healthy. There was no way he could have foreseen there being a problem, and the plaintiff should go through his own auto insurance and make a claim. He's accused of not caring for his tree.
All parties, please, your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant's rotten tree fell on his car and he won't pay. But the defendant says it was an act of God. It's the case of fear God, fear trees.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Shelby Hayes, you are suing John Dorney for $3,200, a Kelley Blue Book value of a car that you say was destroyed when his tree fell on top of your car. So what was your car doing in your neighbor's yard? This is a friend of yours' yard?
Yeah, my buddy Trent. We put it there because I was going away for a vacation and we're work done on our bathroom and our kitchen, so we had a dumpster going into the driveway, and we didn't have enough room for it.
How long had it been there?
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
All right, and lo and behold, how do you find out that a horrible thing has happened?
Well, my buddy Brian called me.
How many cars were on Trent's property?
2. And he's like, "You're not gonna like this." I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, "It's your truck." I'm like, "What about my truck? Just spit it out."
Well,
He's
let's
like,
see what happened to your truck.
Yeah.
Wow, yours is the black Chevrolet.
Yep. It's green actually. It's
Green, yeah, no, I
Trailblazer.
can tell it's green in this one. What luck.
Oh yeah.
Ah, jeez.
And ironically enough, I put it there for safekeeping. So.
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah, that's the stump. I mean.
So what happened? Was there a storm? Had there been a storm?
No, not that I know of. I mean.
Well, where were you?
I was out. I was
Okay,
in
talk to me.
Massachusetts.
What happened?
There was a nor'easter while he wasn't able to see the car, and I was on vacation for 2 weeks with my family.
Okay.
And there was a nor'easter during that period. I'm not sure exactly what day. But when we came home, there was small branches and leaves and stuff all over our front yard. I didn't know about the backyard until we let our dog out and she didn't come back. That's how I found the tree.
Okay. Now, when the tree comes down, was there any vegetation on this tree?
The last I saw the tree was in April. We had a deer having a baby in the backyard, so we kind of let the back part of the grass get a little bit higher. But the last we saw in April, there was greenery on the top of the tree.
Okay, this picture right here that shows like a slice.
Yeah, they cut the tree.
I did that.
They cut
Right.
the tree
Does anybody
off.
have a picture of it before that happened?
No. But you can see the picture that I took, like looking at the fence. See
That
how rotten
picture,
the rotten
right?
stump right there?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it literally went straight to the right from that picture.
So what caused the tree to fall down? His premise is, look, he's got to pay because this tree is obviously a diseased tree. Okay? What evidence do you have that it's a diseased tree?
It's completely rotten. I mean, you could take from, viewing the picture to your right. I mean, it's completely, even if there wasn't a northeastern, if there was, I'm not sure, it would have came down regardless.
I wish you had told me. I would have taken it down.
But
but it's not his job to tell you. Do you have any pictures of the tree before you left town?
No, ma'am.
Because if this tree's standing in my yard and there's not a leaf on it,
The top part of the canopy is missing. I don't know where it was, but there was other stuff there. I don't know if they cleaned it.
where'd it go?
No.
I don't know.
We didn't touch anything. I left it there all for insurance and stuff like that in case, someone had to come look at it.
If you look at the video, I have a picture of my side of the tree that's left on my side of the yard.
Yeah.
Anything. It's not on the truck. It's not on the other car that has no license plate. But the tree that's left in our yard has bark on it.
You know what's not in your video? Any foliage either on this tree. This
No,
tree
ma'am.
that has
I'm not
bark
saying
coming
all
off of it, no foliage, nothing, no, and any of the pictures, the ones taken in July when you come home, July 14th. Do you have the pictures on your phone?
No, I don't have any. Hold on.
Every day a tree falls on a car. How does no one have? My daughter won't eat dinner until her phone eats dinner. She can't, if we're at a restaurant, phone eats first and she takes a picture. But nobody thinks to take a picture of in July. Did your you say your
Yeah, we tried
insurance
to
company
they
said it
called
was
it
act of God.
Yes,
Do you have
ma'am.
anything from the insurance
No.
company? But you've come to court completely empty-handed. You're supposed to prove
Pictures.
there was a nor'easter. You're supposed to prove that, there was some investigation. If you had something from the insurance company that says something
Right.
about why they say it was act of God, there should be something out there for you to give me, and there's nothing.
And another ironic thing is I'm a tree climber.
Get out of here.
I swear. Yeah, I work for a tree company actually.
Well, then let me ask you a question,
my dad's
brain
done it
surgeon.
30 years.
Why do you park your car by a tree that looks completely
I
dead?
wasn't even paying attention, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you
because-
should be.
Well, it was a 6-foot fence, and I wasn't really concerned about. I didn't think his tree would fall. on
I wouldn't expect the average Joe, but a tree climber? What's a tree climber anyway?
So the tree is rotten, but a storm knocks it over. Is the tree owner responsible for the damage when the tree falls in the car?
Yes, for sure.
Why?
Because it's their tree and it's their car. So
But it fell as a result of the storm.
I don't think so. It's like you can't really help that.
So the tree owner's not responsible.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need a tiebreaker. And who will that be? That will be you, sir.
Go ahead, Clint.
I mean, the tree owner, if he knew it was rotten, it had to come down,
So he should have brought it down.
Yeah.
And if he didn't bring it down, Then he's responsible if the storm
fell anyway, to be honest. And then nobody, like, someone would have been unfortunate.
So if a tree falls in the forest, oh, that's a whole other thing, right? All right. Okay, going inside the courtroom.
I climbed trees and cut them down.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Do you have any proof that there was a nor'easter? Because that would be
No.
on you to
No,
bring,
I don't.
because, you know, it's kind of the middle of summer. I'm trying
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, you want me to go fetch it? I mean,
I would love that.
yeah, but that's not going to happen.
I'm sorry.
So we've got us a problem. Do you have the Kelly Blue Book proof of the value?
I don't have it
Do you
put on, but it was between...
No, take whatever. I'm just going to, because we've known each
I
other
can
all
look
our
it
lives,
up.
and I know what an expert you are.
No.
You're a tree expert, and
Oh,
you
my
didn't
God.
know not to park next to this. So I can't trust your version. Do you have the Kelly Blue Book value?
No, it's 3,500.
Do you have it in writing?
It's between
Can I-
1,700.
Just
I don't know.
stop. Yeah, it's less than what you're asking for. Alyssa's sending you messages. Does she not know you're here?
She does. Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's my girlfriend.
This is my time now, Alyssa.
Sorry.
And your video was July.
Is that what it was?
And your video, yeah.
Was that my video or his?
You have a video?
Yeah.
Hold on one
I have
second.
a video of where the tree's placed, and
There's the bark on top of the truck. I've never seen that before.
but you can see there's been pine beetles. That's what kills the pine trees. Those holes right there, you see the holes in the wood?
No, I don't see him. You're going too fast. Ah, right there.
Yeah, those are pine beetles. That's what that's a bug that burrows its way into the tree, and it stops the nutrient system and like kind of blocks up the veins of the tree from getting
Why did
moisture.
you park the truck there if you knew that?
That's great, but I'm not inspecting your lawn
Right.
to be worried
Hit-
about this lawn.
Correct.
If I was
Well put.
parking a
How old
truck,
are you?
then I
How
was
old are you?
worried.
25, man.
Okay, well put. The last thing he said, I'm not inspecting your lawn. Because here's the thing, that we as homeowners do have an obligation to make sure that we don't have anything that's going to create a danger to someone else. These cases are virtually always act of God. But I'm looking at a tree, and he's right. I see the holes of the burrowing, and I see that there's no foliage on it on every picture that I'm given for proof in the case. You say there was a nor'easter, you come with nothing. You say that insurance said that you didn't have to pay. You come with no report from any investigation that might elucidate me from the insurance company. What are you looking? Are you answering, Alyssa?
No. I'm
Okay,
looking
what
for-
are you doing? You can stop.
Okay.
All right.
And I have the Kelly Blue Book.
Now you have it?
Screenshot.
Yeah, I got
that's
it
what I'm
myself.
looking for.
Let me see what you've got now.
Okay. Yeah, it says private sale.
No, don't read it. Give it to my
sorry.
baby, please.
And it was in excellent condition. I mean,
Was it?
It really was. I promise.
Okay.
It was a good truck.
I am ordering a verdict in your favor in the mid-range of $2,500. Based on the video and the pictures that I have, that tree was a diseased tree. And, half the time, people can't even know that it's a diseased tree. But in this case, it was pretty obvious from the very first picture and videos taken in July that there's no foliage on the tree. And that's like a dead giveaway. You've got a dead tree and you got to do something about it. You can't just leave it alone because it's in the back of your yard. It could pose a danger to others. Verdict for the plaintiff, $2,500.
Thank you, man.
So the plaintiff prevails. Mr. Dorney, you just shook hands with the plaintiff. Shaking hands with me.
He's a good man.
He's a good man.
Yes, sir.
Were you shocked to find out all of this? And what about, do you have other trees like that in your yard?
No. And there won't be any more trees like that in my yard now.
Okay. Well, it was a first,
Yeah, it's a first.
Maybe if you'd have gotten some evidence there was
Maybe
a
if I had a
noise
tree guy look at the tree.
Yeah. Bring in a test. Yeah, exactly. Would have helped you.
Yes, sir.
Well, you seem to be in good shape. Thank you very
I'm
much.
glad that he got.
Good. You're
Thank
good.
you very
Okay,
much.
very much. What was your first thought when you saw the car? Did you cry?
No.
No?
It wasn't a safekeeping place, I guess. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I'd have seen my car like that.
I tried to do everything I could. I didn't want it to come to this, but they refused, so I had to do what I was forced to. So.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, good enough. Thank you very much.
Thank
okay.
you.
Congratulations. Harvey?
So if you have a neighbor and that there's a tree that looks precarious, it's rotten or whatever, put the neighbor on notice that the tree is rotten. Once you send him, say, an email, they are on notice. And then if the tree falls, your rights are enhanced measurably.